Welcome back to SFC Live. We're pitch side here following a defeat for Sunderland at home in the penultimate game of the season at home. We still have 2 games left. Of course, we're off to Vicarage Road next weekend. But yeah, we're going to have to try and get through that one, Danny. Sunderland didn't look like they were going to score all afternoon. Millwall didn't look like they were going to score all afternoon, but they did.
No.
So, yeah.
And that's been the case a few games this season, well, certainly in recent weeks at the Stadium of Light. You go back to the Bristol City game where perhaps we had more opportunities that day, Queen's Park Rangers, and obviously the bad defeat against Blackburn as well. So it's not been great at home, especially in recent weeks. And as you said there, neither team really kicked on, got out of second gear, did they? And it was a little bit of quality from their point of view, with Longman fizzing the ball in, and Duncan Watmore just a bit of desire to get across the near post, and that's been the difference. But yeah, as you said, from our point of view, all afternoon really, from open play especially, didn't look like scoring. Set pieces in the first half, Dan Ballard, Job had 1 or 2, didn't they? Other than that, it's a disappointing afternoon. You could sense the frustration in the stadium. The crowd coming here, as you mentioned before the game, after the good result last week at West Brom, the point down at Ellen Road as well. Can we come back here now and give the fans something to shout about, really? And it's not been the case.
No, let's have a look back through the action then, and we can just talk about the game while the highlights, in inverted commas, are playing. So yeah, I mean, what can Mike Dodds get out of that game then? What are the positives we can try and take from that? I guess we saw the return of Corey Evans. That's a positive, I guess.
Adji got 80 minutes under his belt.
Adji got 80 minutes. Chris Rigg had a decent first 45. Yeah. You know, it's trying to find those positives in a uninspired performance.
Yeah, it is as well. And you know, fans now will be, as I say, on the way home, frustrated. They'll be chatting, what could we have done differently? You know, he's brought Bradley Dack in to play up top, dropped Job in a little bit deeper. I mean, Bradley Dack there just chatting, weren't we? He's probably had 3, maybe 4 touches in the first half from open play. I thought his set pieces were quite decent, to be fair. But you could see he's frustrated. He actually dropped down to get it off the centre-backs at one point in the first half. Yeah. He come off at half-time. Then we moved Joe back up top. Can't remember him having more than 3-4 touches in the second half. Looking a little bit isolated, so it's frustrating. You know, we stuck with the system, what we've played, and yes, it's got us results on the road in the last few games. But what we've said there, the difference being today is you're at home. You come up against a team who are obviously struggling down the wrong end of the table, who've now secured their status in the Championship for next season.
It meant a lot to them that at the full-time whistle, didn't it?
But yeah, the onus was on us today to come out and to have a good go, and we're sat in mid-table, play with a little bit of freedom, but it didn't feel like that. We looked a bit edgy, we weren't committing bodies. I know Jack Clark had 1 or 2 runs in the first half, but from maybe other players in the team, didn't take the game by the scruff of the neck and, you know, play with a bit of freedom. What we've seen from this club in the last year and a half, really, it wasn't there this afternoon, and you could sense it later on. They were happy to sit off us, to sit behind the ball, banks of 4, and say, go on then, what have you got? And we just didn't have enough today to break them down. Yeah,
we tried to change things up in the second half by bringing on Adil Al-Shish and Abdullah Bar as well, but even then, initially Adil Al-Shish looked like he was going to make a difference, and he got a few successive corners down this left-hand side as we were looking at it. But in the end, it was the final third, in the middle of the final third, just nothing was. I wouldn't even say nothing was sticking, because nothing was going in.
No one's going in there. No, it's difficult today. Again, some people say, does it come from the touchline or from the players? As players, yes, we're a young team, but you sense it yourselves. You know, where are we likely to get joy? And when you're playing with wing backs, again, it comes back to is it a 3, is it a 5? Well, we had good possession in the first half, so then your outlets are Callum Styles pushing on, albeit he rotated with Jack. Jack dropped down a little bit. Callum come narrow on the right hand side. Pembele was on the touchline. Yeah. Play away from it a bit quicker. You know, it's okay trying to probe and trying to fish balls through the middle of the park, those little 10-yarders to break lines. I get that, but just play where the space is. And I know we can see it a little bit clearer from our position on the gantry, but either it comes from the dugout, from the staff on the touchline, or from the players themselves. You know, Pembele, he was a little bit frustrated in the first half, and he's got a lot of space, but you can see it to the lads. Boys, zip the ball out to me quicker. I've got 10-15 yards. The fullback's going narrow. Get the ball out to me and we'll draw him out. Then you might get the pockets of space to play into Bradley Dack, into Job, and lads making runs in behind. But it was all too easy for Millwall. You can guarantee their centre-backs, Tanganga, Cooper, getting back on the bus this afternoon, now, in about 10 minutes' time after the shower, and they're thinking, do you know what, we've had a nice enjoyable afternoon at the Stadium of Light, and that's been too easy for centre-backs and, you know, not just centre-backs, sorry, midfielders, full-backs, whatever, in recent weeks coming up to the Stadium of Light.
Yeah, just looking back through some more of these moments. So there was a couple of corners there we saw from Bradley Dack. They were always hitting a red and white shirt, but in the end there wasn't enough clinical finesse on the end of it.
No, you can see it's something they probably worked on the last, usually Thursday, Friday, you're working on set pieces. You know, how can we break teams down if it's not happening in open play? What's your next best thing to work on? Well, set pieces. And you could see that Luke O'Nien got himself free a couple of times round the back post area. Not so much first phase, but it's knockdowns, and that Dan Ballard header was probably the best opportunity really in the first half. Job had one just after, didn't he? Put over the top of the bar as well. And then obviously we're making changes, said there, Bradley. That comes off at half time. Then you're bringing on the likes of O'Sheesh and Barr as well to try and inject a little bit of tempo into the game as well. And you see O'Sheesh, he's always involved, and he had 3 or 4 corners, as you said. Delivery wasn't quite as good as it has been from him in recent weeks when he has come off the bench. But we had double figures against set pieces, didn't we?
Oh, I'll tell you.
First half,
we had 11.
Yeah, 11. Yeah. So first half, we did get some joy, albeit we've put it over the top of the crossbar. And is this the one that he just cuts back? Yeah, just pulls it back, doesn't he, for O'Sheesh on the volley? Good strike, and I think it cannons into Leonard there, the number 18. Yeah. But again, I've just said about the centre backs there. Their goalkeeper's getting back on the bus. Won't have to wash his gloves this evening either, will he?
Yeah.
That's the frustrating thing. We had 1 or 2 half chances in the second half. Trey Humes had one. Pierre free kick right at the end there, but the goalkeeper, you know, he's not been worked enough, has he? And this is no disrespect to Millwall. They're a side who are just about staying up at the other end of the table, and they've come up here and they've had a comfortable afternoon at the Stadium of Light, and there's the goal there, and that one little bit of quality in the match. The loose ball down this right hand side, it goes into Saville, he feeds it out to Longman there, and it just fizzes a nice low ball in, and that's the difference. You've got to have that little bit of movement in the box, try and mess the centre backs about, and that's what Duncan Watmore does. Comes across from the left hand side, gets across the near post, and it's a decent finish, and it's past Anthony Patterson before he knows it. And that's it. Thank you very much. 3 points, back on the bus we go.
Yeah, also an end of those clean sheets as well, which has served Sunderland quite well in the last 7 or 8 games as well. Obviously that Blackburn game been the anomaly in that run as well, so that'll be frustrating for Anthony Patterson at the back end.
Yeah, no, it will be. Yeah, and all well and good, isn't it? As you say, they're keeping clean sheets, but what wins your games of football is putting the ball in the back of the opposition net. And we look toothless, to be honest, haven't we? Even in recent weeks. Yeah, we had a good result last week. You look at the goal, Pierre Ekwar from a set piece, isn't it, off a corner. But other than that, in open play last week, we didn't really create too much in terms of, you know, having that extra man in the second half at West Brom as well in the second half. And then today, I know we haven't seen the stats yet. We've had 2 or 3 what will go down as opportunities on goal. Chris Riggs in the first half with his right foot, but the goalkeeper, he hasn't been worked enough.
No, he hasn't. Let's have a look around at the scores from the Championship this afternoon so far. There is a later game as well. That one is between Queen's Park Rangers and Preston North End. But in the early kick-off, it was Leicester City 2, West Bromwich Albion 1, Cardiff City 2, Southampton 1, Huddersfield Town 0, Swansea City 4, Norwich City 1, Bristol City 1, Rotherham United and Birmingham are still playing, Stoke City 3, Plymouth 0 in the battle at the bottom, and Watford, where Sunderland travel next weekend, they were 0-0 at home against Hull City. Let's have a look at the division. I think we're going to split it up into a couple of blocks now. It's coming, I promise. That one is the top 10. So just a look at there what Leicester City's win earlier today does. Takes them top of the pile.
Yeah, blow for Southampton as well. When they're getting beat, they were right back amongst it really, but it's a massive blow for them. Trying to get into their automatics.
And we'll see a little bit further down if we can. And Sunderland sit in 13th on 56 points. The level on points of Swansea City after their win this afternoon. We'll go to Watford next weekend, who could catch us up on points if they were to beat us next weekend, but Sunderland still could go for that 12th position, of course. depending on results as well for Bristol City. All right then, let's have a look and see a quick thought maybe from one of our fans to provoke some conversation before we get out of here this afternoon. Richard's been in touch. Hi Richard. Looking into next season, should we build a team around Job? He's our best talent. A lot of people are very impressed with Job this season. His first proper season as a Sunderland player has been the first proper season for many of the Sunderland players as well, Danny. So obviously will be built a lot around the young players and the young talent we have. Even looking at people like Chris Rigg as well, who's featured a lot in this second half of this season. But you would imagine recruitment will be happening to strengthen the spine of the side, you'd imagine. Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting summer. Just said they're having a chat with a couple of the stewards on the way down, really, and they were asking, what's likely to happen. I said, I don't know. I stand here with Frankie and we chat about the game. But it's a big summer for us. We've mentioned it before the game there, not just on the pitch as well, off the pitch. Head coach who's coming in, who's going to take charge. But yeah, of course we need to strengthen it. Again, we've said it, we don't need to stand here and talk about what positions we need to strengthen in, really. It's top end of the pitch, maybe a little bit of experience coming in to help the young squad. Of course, we get it, we're bringing in some young, talented players, but they need a little bit of guidance. It's been a tough second half of the season, since Christmas. We've struggled, we've had 3 head coaches this season. And it's disappointing, really, how it's almost fizzled out, really, and especially at home here in front of the home fans. Joe's been mentioned there. You don't want to build your season and build your squad around him being as the striker. It's not his natural position. He said that he's almost doing a job where we've already got a couple of centre forwards sat on the bench, really. So that sort of tells the story in itself. Job, if you asked him, I think he's more of an 8 or a 10, really. That's where he wants to play. And he's had a mixed season, really. He's had some good moments. I think he's got 7 goals this season.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, good return for him. Yeah, of course it is. And he gets into good areas. He times his runs well in the box when he's playing a little bit deeper. But yeah, he just mentioned it there. Bradley Dack, who's experienced, struggled first half to get involved in the game. No fault of his own, really. And then Joe was asked to go and do the same role second half, and then he struggled to get involved in the game. He was trying to make runs. Tanganga handled him quite well. But he's learning. He's a young lad. He's just turned 18, halfway through the season. You mentioned Chris Rigg there. We've got some good young talent in there. But for me, we obviously need to add some experience in there. And by experience, that doesn't mean we have to go and sign players who are 33, 34, sort of mid-20s, really, so who've got experience at this level or elsewhere, similar level, and then they can just add to the squad, and it brings the young boys on as well.
Okay, Danny, thanks for your company this afternoon. It wasn't a classic here at the Stadium Light, that's for sure, but we will go again, and we'll be on air again on Saturday down at Vicarage Road. The Sunderland lads will be down there, and the supporters in their thousands. Me and Danny will be back in the studio up there in the sports bar for that one. 2:15 we'll be on air for that one because it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.